Интернет.
Exactly. Computers, the cell phone. Think about it. It wasn't that long ago we didn't have those. And how can we even live without them now? We sleep with them, we walk with them, we have them in our pockets, we go to the toilet with them, they're with us all the time. They're with us more than our husbands and wives. So, they're positive. They have made, we're very connected now with people. However, because they've been around for over a decade now, the scientific community has analyzed how they have affected our lives, not only for positive, but possibly for some of the negative effects. And the three big areas of change that have been impacted by our phones and our computers and our tablets are these three areas. The first one is movement. Movement has decreased because we are more connected to these. Instead of walking, even in a company, people text each other when they're sitting from one office to the next. Instead of getting up and walking around and talking to them, they text each other through the computer or through their phone. I mean, that is one example. Another example is children. There's research study, children that were raised in the 60s, 70s, and 80s are active, riding their bike, playing, jumping around, 3 to 4 hours a day on average. Children raised since the year 2000, on average, are active less than 30 minutes a day. So that's a huge impact on their little tiny growing bodies that need activity to build strong bones and muscle mass to last them and maintain throughout life. So our movement has dramatically decreased. That's one aspect with these wonderful cell phones and computers that we use all the time. And they're always going to be in our lives. I mean, and they'll be, of course, better and better. So we just have to compensate and realize that it's really changing and improve our movement. Stress. Stress has increased. Now, these things somehow make us all happy. I don't know. We kind of get addicted to them. We get really stressed when they run out of their battery. We get really stressed if we leave it at home. In fact, we go to work, oh my, I have to go back home and get my phone. We get really stressed if we lose it. Can you imagine losing it and your photos and your contacts? Do you remember when some of us were kids, we used to remember phone numbers? And now, I couldn't even tell you what my phone number was because it's in my phone. I just give my... So, we used to remember our mother's and dad's phone numbers and our friends' phone numbers, and now it's like, some of you aren't old enough for that, but some of us are. So, the phone has caused stress. There's lots of research. We are in a state of on, O-N, or well. We don't turn off. And in not turning off, because we're always connected, we don't give our bodies the opportunity to fully relax. And one area is when we sleep. How many people sleep with the phone by their beds? On. Me too. I know this research, and we all do it too. And you know, the research is solid. If you sleep with your phone by the bed, your body is never allowed to go all the way to the deep process of sleep. And only when your body gets to the deep levels of sleep do you have the ability to renew and repair, which is one of the purposes of sleep, renew and repairing tissue.
Клетки.
So, there is a solution. I don't know if we'll really do it. Is to sleep with your phone. You can leave it on, but put it in one room over. And then, for some reason, your mind at night will think, okay, I don't have to constantly, I can go sleep. you go down into the levels. That's the solution. I've known this research for years, and I
Спать и телефон ложить в соседнюю комнату.
Anyway. So stress has increased in all aspects of life because the speed of life and the fact that we're always on. And then, of course, food. We know this. You're wellness. But a brand new person, if you were a brand new person, might not know all the details. And of course, we're going to talk much more of the details on food today. Our food supply has changed. It is fast as well, often. If you live in big cities, you're rushing around, going from your office, shopping, picking up kids, and the food supply has really changed. Not only the food supply, but the food speed of eating. And the social interaction that is generally associated for centuries around eating has changed very quickly in the last 20 years. Very few people in today's world sit down every night with their family and eat a meal. And that has changed tremendously in the last 20 years. In the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, families in general still ate together in the evenings. And since 90s, 2000s, I don't know. I don't have children, but I know all my friends that have children, their kids are running and they're doing things, and the family unit is solid, but it's just a different type of family unit than a lot of people were raised for decades before that. And that has also increased stress and increased the consumption of fast foods. So this kind of sets the stage for where we are. And now, what can we learn from these longevity zones that Hermione talked about? A lot of people think that these people that live in these longevity zones, it's about their genes. They're a small, secluded group of people, which they generally are, very, they don't travel, they're in this area, small areas. So their genes probably are very similar. But through scientific research, it's determined that genetic potential and genetic influence is associated for approximately 20% of their longevity, and that it's truly the choices of their lifestyle is responsible for 80% of their longevity. So just because we don't live in these zones, most of us except this lady from Georgia, we still have a chance to get to 100 living healthy lives if we understand the small steps to take to improve our lifestyles. So it's not all negative. It's not negative. It's a positive thing. There's small steps. We're not asking for major changes. And what the scientific community studying these longevity zones has learned is that there's 4 areas that they do differently than the rest of the world on a consistent daily basis. And that's the key. It's a daily basis that affects our bodies, these containers we live in. Eating good food once or twice a week. It's better than never, but it takes a consistent routine. And so the first one is Hermione sent the community. They are connected all the way through community. And this computer and the phones we use, it makes us connected, but it doesn't make us physically connected. It actually removes us from people, these. And there's lots of research that shows the interaction. I'm going to get really close. You stay there. I'm just going to get really close. And the physical interaction of just being close with people and seeing them and subconsciously smelling them, even though you don't smell. It's the connection with people has shown to be very influentially positive on the human body. Our bodies need connection. Physical, and even physical connection. So I'll pick on you. Now I'll pick on her. Everybody in the front row, when I speak, usually gets picked on a little bit. So I hope that if you don't want to be, just go, no. Okay? All right. So community is very important, and these people live in a strong community where they're interactive, they're engaged in life. And where I come from, as we get older, the elderly often, maybe they're in a home by themselves. Maybe they can't walk so well. Maybe they don't drive anymore, and they become very secluded and closed in. Totally opposite the way these people live. So interaction is very important to stay that way. And what do we have with Oriflame? Oriflame encourages interaction. We're in meetings, we're traveling, we're engaging with people. Movement. Hermione mentioned this. We know movement is important. We have to do weight-bearing activity, like walking, running, jumping, to maintain our skeletal system, the bones, and we have to do activity to maintain our muscle mass so that we can carry our skeletal system around. Movement and activity is not only good for our cardiovascular system, it stimulates the brain, it actually helps the eyes continue to focus and work. It's bizarre, this whole body is so interconnected. Every time you walk, you're doing good for the entire body, not just your muscles. Rest. We know the importance of rest. We know that rest is the period of time that we renew and repair our tissues at night. Relaxation. It's not just about sleeping, it's truly about the renewal process that occurs in the body at the deep levels of sleep. These people, on average, get 8 hours of sleep. Now, the recommendation, of course, by the scientific community is 6 to 8 hours. But these people consistently get 8 or more. Of course, if you have children, especially little ones, you might only get 3 or 4 until they're a little older. But it's very obviously an important thing. And then the last one. These longevity zone people eat fresh, vibrant, foods. Foods that are as close to being picked from the ground and consumed the same day as possible. Lean meats, whole grains for fiber. They don't eat the fast foods. So these are the 4 areas that has been determined by the scientific community studying the longevity zones that are different from the way we live. And they don't live in a state of deprivation. They're not deprived. They're vibrant in life. And this leads to the Wellness 3 Whys. Why will